Support us by subscribing, ring the notification bell, press all, and thumbs up. Thank you.
That we have today. So on January 28th, 11 soldiers, Fort Bliss soldiers, were injured after ingesting an unknown substance during a field training exercise. Initial reports indicate soldiers consumed the substance thinking they were drinking an alcoholic beverage. Army personnel are prohibited from consuming alcoholic beverages while on duty and while in a training environment. All 11 soldiers are assigned to the 11th Air Defense Artillery Brigade, 32nd Army Air and Missile Defense Command. This incident occurred on the final day of a 10-day field training exercise at Fort Bliss's McGregor Range Complex. Initial laboratory assessments indicate the soldiers are experiencing ethylene glycol poisoning. Soon after symptoms began presenting, those affected soldiers arrived to the Beaumont Army Medical Center between the hours of 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. January 28th. As of this update, all injured personnel remain at the Beaumont Army Medical Center. As of this update, 2 remain seriously ill and admitted to the ICU. Those 2 were previously admitted in critical condition and have notable improvement. We would like to thank the Beaumont Army Medical Center medical professionals and the greater medical community of El Paso for their quick action in treating all of our soldiers. The immediate response from our hospital provided antidote treatment within the first 24 hours. Our hospital is part of a larger response within the community, and we are very glad those soldiers got the treatment that they needed within an immediate time. The circumstances of how the soldiers ingested the substance are under investigation by the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Command, USACIC. The senior mission commander of Fort Bliss, Major General Sean C. Bernabe, immediately launched an administrative investigation to determine the facts and circumstances that led to yesterday's events. Our primary concern remains the well-being of our soldiers, our families, and the unit. Our teammates are receiving the best medical resources available. Unit and installation chaplains are also attending to those in need at this time. And Fort Bliss officials will continue to provide you updates as the additional details become available. At this time, I would like to take questions from the audience. Colonel Scully will join me, and then, like as stated, we will address questions from the telephone. Ma'am. Sorry.
The substance that you mentioned sounds a lot like antidote. Is that closely associated to that?
Yes, so ethylene glycol is commonly referred to antifreeze. That is correct.
Are any of these soldiers facing any disciplinary action?
So our immediate concern right now are for those who are injured and ill, what resources and medical assistance we can provide them. And the rest of that is within the investigations. We want to find all the facts that we can, and so those details will come later.
Was it after the exercise or was it during the exercise?
That is correct. The event occurred as the members were departing the training area, so it was at the end of their training exercise.
Can you explain some of the effects of ingesting the substance? What symptoms were they experiencing?
I'll let Nan answer.
Good afternoon. So typically the ingestion of substances along the lines of ethylene glycol can generate immediate damage to the kidneys, and then if the ingestion is significant enough, high enough doses, it can ultimately lead to organ failure.
Could it have been mistaken by Gatorade in the camp?
So exactly what was happening on that day, that that led to the soldiers ingesting the material. Again, that's all under the investigation, and please understand, we do want to understand what happened that day. That's why we've launched an immediate investigation. The commanding general has leveraged all his resources that he can to find the facts so that we can understand exactly what did happen.
Can you talk about the medical condition of, especially the critical patients, that they are improving?
Thankfully, all 11 soldiers who were admitted to our facility, 2 in critical condition and the rest in guarded condition, have shown signs of significant improvement overnight. We're very pleased that we've been able to extubate the 1 soldier who required ventilatory support, and all others are doing incredibly well. It's a wonderful opportunity to see them improving.
Do we know how much of the substance they had?
No, ma'am, we do not know that right now.
In layman's terms, in layman's terms, the medical treatment they received, would it be called pumping the stomach?
No, sir.
What is it called? What is the process, procedure?
For anyone who has ingested toxic levels of a substance like ethylene glycol, they require medications to help bind that substance and allow it to be cleared from the system. In extreme cases, that clearance is done using dialysis, much as we do in the dialysis centers all throughout town.
Are they still in the hospital, all of them?
Yes, sir.
KVIA, do you have a question? No? Okay. Is there a question from the virtual audience, please?
Man, we have roast there from Stars and Stripes. Was the substance in a package that was made to believe it was alcohol?
So, again, the facts of exactly what did happen, and I understand, we want to try to understand exactly what occurred, what caused them to consume or ingest. But again, we have to wait for the facts of the investigation. We're doing all that we can to support these soldiers. Our focus is just to get them well, get them to a point where they can return to wellness, be with their families, and the unit can also have the time to function and find out exactly what did happen in care, then also so that we can continue and come back to our readiness level.
To that point, what are the potential long-term effects?
That's past me, ma'am.
Long-term effects of ethylene glycol consumption depend on the amount that was ingested and the extent to which it affected the patient. Many patients who take a low dose may have absolutely no symptoms and no secondary consequences. Slightly higher amount, nausea, agitation, confusion. As it progresses, the ultimate manifestations would be complete organ failure.
You raised the question, you're saying exactly what you just did right now. So what is the quantity that they consume?
That is unknown, sir. Because in order to calculate that, you also have to know not just current serum levels, and a military facility is able to check lab values, not serum levels of that substance. You also need to know when it was ingested so you can see the time period over which it has broken down. And at this point, we're not able to provide that information. We simply don't have it.
Do we know what the container looked like and how big it was?
Sir, the extent of my understanding of this experience is from once they hit my emergency room door all the way through. Anything that happened prior to that, I can't speak to.
Lieutenant, do we know?
So that's all within the investigation. So those are all facts that we're asking those same questions.
Can you tell us if other soldiers consumed this but didn't get sick?
Right now, we believe it's a contained incident. So the personnel that were involved or experienced symptoms, those are the 11 that we know of right now. That's correct.
Yeah, the 11 go at the same time, or was it like one after the other? Exactly, yeah.
One patient arrived in the emergency room with initial symptoms. Shortly after that was followed by a second. At that point, military medical leadership requested that all members of the unit be brought in for support and assessment.
Are there any virtual questions? Any more there?
Yes, ma'am. Mike Levinson from the New York Times says, is it correct to say they drank antifreeze believing it was alcohol, and was it part of a grog bowl?
So again, what we know, what we can provide, that is all the details that remain within the investigation. So how it was presented, how those personnel were involved, we've provided to the extent that we can provide, that we know now, that we can confirm for you. Again, to focus back, while the investigation is ongoing, we want these personnel to get well and get better, and that is our primary focus right now.
Do we know the ages of these soldiers?
We do, however, injured personnel have other, protections while they are in a treatment facility. And so all we're releasing is their military ranks right now, and that's in the press release from this morning.
Speak to if anything's being done to prevent some other confusion like happened the other day from happening to other soldiers and making sure that this doesn't happen again.
And the other day, are you referring to January 28th?
Yes. Is there something being done now to make sure that no one else ingests the substance if there was a mistake?
Yes, absolutely. CID is actively investigating. We've launched the administrative investigation to find the facts and preserve evidence. So we are taking both of those in cooperation with law enforcement to preserve evidence, to contain the incident, and then to get statements or what we can kind of gather to the whole of the investigation. So yes, we are doing all that we can.
Do you know when the soldiers will be released, the ones that are doing better?
It is my understanding that up to 4 soldiers will be released later this afternoon, and they will be released to their families. They will be coordinated with full support care in the hospital for all follow-up and regular checks to ensure that there are no long-term sequelae. The rest of the patients, it will depend on their clinical progress.
Ma'am, Rose Thayer from Stars and Stripes would like to know how many soldiers were training in the field.
I'll have to get those. We'll have to get those facts and figures.
And one more from Mike Levinson of the New York Times. Just to clarify, it was antifreeze that they consumed?
The laboratory results have the indication of the toxic substance that is commonly referred to antifreeze. So that is correct. We don't know how much, but that was detected in the laboratory results.
What type of exercise were you doing? What type of exercise?
I couldn't hear you, sir. I'm sorry.
What type of exercise?
So the unit that was training they were certifying on their equipment, their assigned equipment. And so that's routine training exercise that we do to maintain our readiness levels, to make sure that personnel are familiar with their weapon systems, with their teams, and with the processes within their unit.
You said it was a 10-day training?
I couldn't hear you, sir. I'm sorry.
You said it was a 10-day training?
10-day training.
That's correct. It was a 10-day training exercise, yes. Okay, so if we have no more questions, no more virtual questions.
Mike Levinson of the New York Times, they believe it was alcohol when they consumed it.
From what we understand from the situation and the initial, the preliminary review and the investigation is yes, we understand the personnel believe that they were consuming an alcoholic beverage. Okay, everyone.
We have one more, ma'am, sorry. Kyle Renford of the Army Times, were any soldiers drinking the alcohol but did not get sick?
those are answers that we will discover during the investigation as this moves forward. That information we do not have right now. Okay, folks. So again, thank you all so very much. I appreciate you being here for us and for your concern and your care for each and every one here at Fort Bliss. Thank you again.